Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix Show. My name is Chris Wong. This is episode 476 of the Ping Pong Flix Show. And today, this is all going to be about the Ayer cut, the David Ayer cut. Now, not much has happened today. It's Martin Luther King Day, and so a lot of people were off and things like that. But it gave a chance for David Ayer to kind of talk a little bit more about his Suicide Squad movie. So this whole video is going to be about the Ayer cut, the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. Now, Movie Titan has been kind of compiling a whole bunch of stuff for the David Ayer cut, and I've kind of seen it here and there back in December 28, 2019. And so they've kind of highlighted other things too within that happened today. But a lot of things that you may not have already seen, and maybe I'll just pull it up here. He noticed there's some scene here with the Katana, and possibly looking like Katana's fighting Croc. And so they suggested that what happened in the scenes, his interpretation is Katana absorbs Enchantress in her sword. Katana gets controlled by Enchantress. Maybe she promised her to give her husband, blah, 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 Killer Croc versus Katana. So this must have been in one of the trailers, right? So you also notice that Diablo was also supposed to be here, and then they took him out because he died in the theatrical cut. Maybe it was supposed to be, still alive. Correct me if I'm wrong. In your original cut, Suicide Squad, Diablo survives the fight with Enchantress. The scene from San Diego Comic-Con 2015 trailer is him after the fight in a new cell where he can't be tortured with water. So that's some more theories about that. And then, we also got into the point about David Ayer talking back in March 24th. So this is kind of like a review in a way. After Joker dropped HQ from Harley Quinn from the Help and crashed, Enchantress made a deal with him. He was going to take Harley home and be king of Gotham. Harley stood up to him and refused to betray her new friends. The squad turned on him and he escaped. So we knew about this. This is a little bit of a review. We do see Joker here with Enchantress, and this is the part where that happens. A little bit more review here. I might as well own it to plenty of moviegoers out there. That's their Joker. Have some swag about it. I don't know what it's referring to, but David Ayer did say, I like it. In my mind, it was meant for Batman after he smashed Joker's teeth for killing Jason Todd. Some people found it alienating. Originality and faithfulness to the canon are often at odds. Batman and Joker are my two favorite characters ever. Now, a little bit more about this a little bit later on in terms of the Batman and Joker, thing about that is kind of upsetting to me, but let me continue forward. So we already know about the mother box. Enchantress was under the control of a mother box, and Steppenwolf was prepping an invasion with a boom tube. Had to lose that. Then the Justice League story arcs evolved, and I am assuming that some of that was because Zack Snyder was going to use Steppenwolf in his JL arc. But, essentially, maybe they could still have had parademons involved in this battle as well, right? It was supposed to be a boom tube as she was under control of a mother box. All the apocalypse elements were stripped out late in the game. Now, we don't know, right, how late in the game, as in late in the concept game or late in the movie game. The machine concept was an attempt to create a ticking clock and a world threat. And so we had all these beautiful concept art here, incredible concept art, right? Then we had about the David Ayer. This is real. He's actually trying to say that in a way trying to fight for his David Ayer's cut. So hopefully we can continue to move forward with that, and with the release of the Snyder cut, it could definitely help him with that. So there's nothing much. There's a lot of different pictures and things of him behind the scenes and things like that, which you can go into these threads from Movie Titans, who actually put it all together very nicely. And you can go ahead and review some of the stuff. Nothing too mind bending and breaking here. As we continue to go further, more scenes, more shots of Harley, Margot Robbie. Then he came on to this, and this was actually just yesterday. Released the air cut. He says there's some concept art of, and I believe I've seen this before, of parademons, what parademons look like. Very creepy, very scary looking. Better than what we've got in the Suicide Squad, right? There's even some scenes of soldiers, and that's weird, like a super parademon with multiple arms and guns and blazing and stuff like that. All part of the concept art for the Suicide Squad, right? So how we're not sure how far he got with this, and we're not sure how much further he was supposed to get with this or not. And to be fair, a lot of this was very early concept art. We still don't know what he meant by late in the game, where all this had changed. So there is that. David Ayer did reply to the concept art with his own. Like, he brought this out. This is David Ayer himself replying to that. So he said, yes, basically these were parademon concepts, right? And he released his own image. This is a mock-up parademon head that was 3D printed. So this is an actual physical something that he shot this image with by his Nikon. And so someone else asked, so the parademons were reassimilated people, which would have been consistent with Zack Snyder's Justice League, where I guess the anti-life equation has something to do with changing their will. David Ayer says, yes, it was just like in the comics. It was just like in the comics. It would have very much connected with Zack Snyder's Justice League. Would have had those parademon elements. Would have had, the anti-life equation. It would kind of, in a way, it would almost prepped us for Justice League in a way, right? To figuring out, like, things are definitely happening in the world. Not necessarily probably during the time that Batman went off. Just trying to kind of connected to a larger story. And Parademon says, yes, but Enchantress was used by Steppenwolf as a tool to make people into parademons, I think. And David Ayer did like that reply, probably in a way confirming that, yes, Enchantress was used by Steppenwolf as a tool. And he said that himself, in earlier times. And people thought he was just BSing, but apparently not. Apparently it's for real. This thing, he indeed had that notion. He indeed got that to work. So we go in the way of a certain individual that you may have already heard of, and that is Daniel Rickman. Daniel RPK, is a scooper, and I do remember him back in the day where he was talking about him actually seeing the original test screening cut before the actual theatrical. So this is back in November 2018. I think I mentioned this on a very, very early show. He said, I was there, so I know what you're talking about, David, and I really like your original cut. Yes, I saw an early cut that was way different than what we've got, and I liked it a lot. As someone who saw a test screening, I know that for a fact the original version was much better. So it was a different movie. David Ayer did he says, thank you for this. The filming industry is exactly that. An industry, it keeps growing and moving forward. Yet I know James Gunn will make something amazing. My frustration comes from being hammered for something that was not my original vision. And that was something, I remember it was like a small little spat online for someone who shat on his Suicide Squad, where he clearly says that, hey man, that wasn't the movie that you were supposed to got. That's not my cut. That's probably one of the times he finally just kind of spoke out and really say that, hey, this is not my cut, guys. The one in theaters, yeah, I signed off on it back in the day, and because of the studio and stuff, but I want to tell you now, it's not my cut. So And Movie Titan actually was able to compile something here from May of 2016 from Daniel RPK. So this is kind of cool. Early screening reaction from Daniel RPK at that time. He says Suicide Squad finally gives you the Batman you've always wanted to see. Also, Batman has much screen time in Suicide Squad as Spider-Man had in Civil War, much more than I was expecting. And if you remember back in Suicide Squad, it wasn't that much. It was very short, very little bit, just the Harley Quinn, Joker chase, and also that one spat with, that one little tussle with Deadshot in the alleyway. So it's not as much as the Spider-Man in Civil War. So there must maybe more. Suicide Squad was amazing. Amazing. Batman v Superman's Batman equals the Punisher. Suicide Squad's Batman equals Batman. Suicide Squad doesn't have a main character per se, but Harley Quinn is the closest thing to it. So after watching the theatrical version, which gets interesting because this man has watched the test screening, and Daniel said this, the more I think about the theatrical version of Suicide Squad, the less I like it. Man, they really messed it up. Warner Brothers really messed it up. I was really disappointed when I saw the final cut of the movie, but I tried to stay positive. I really did. I didn't like some of the changes they made, but I still think Suicide Squad's a good movie. Stop twisting my words and say I hated the movie. Suicide Squad Blu-ray will have 11 minutes of extra footage, huh? The version I've seen had at least 30 to 35 minutes of extra footage. Some of the changes they've done for Suicide Squad were just odd. They changed the order of some scenes. I feel like some of the changes were made to put Will Smith's Deadshot more in the front. As he said before, Harley Quinn was the closest thing to being the main character. As someone who saw a test screening, I know that for a fact the original version was much better. Much better. So, it really clearly shows that point of view, that he saw something amazing. How amazing? What was so cool in that it was that amazing, right? He clarifies it didn't have the stupid editing style the final version had. Joker and Harley's relationship was more abusive. Also, the first act wasn't a montage. Instead, it was a longer cut of the flashbacks of each member of the squad we saw in that montage plays in real time. Was there more Batman stuff in the movie that was deleted? The scene with him chasing Harley and Joker lasts longer. Plus, he talked to Harley about Jason. Well, kinda. He didn't say Jason, but he was clearly talking about him, about, killing Robin, right? Damn, what about the Joker? How many stuff was that deleted, and were those stuff any good? Also, thank you for answering the Batman question. There was a lot more of him for sure. Did Leto really push Harley out of the helicopter? Daniel says yes, he really pushed him out. In the movie, he didn't push him out. She was trying to grab for her, but Joker in Suicide Squad an Ayer cut was a lot more villainous, right? So this part, he says, like it or hate it, seeing Will Smith fighting Batman's Suicide Squad gave me goosebumps. Too bad they've cut him fighting Joker from the final version. Forget about Deadshot. I never thought I'll get to see Will freaking Smith fighting Batman and Joker, and now never again. So we essentially would have had Deadshot fighting Joker as well, in which that's something we never saw in the movie, right? Because Joker was supposed to be at the end of the film with Enchantress, and at that point, I guess Deadshot gets to fight him as well, right? But it also brings me to the point where, there was supposed to be more Batman. What part of that was going to have more Batman? Would we also have had maybe Batman actually fighting the Joker? What other Batman stuff was in the movie? Did this actually happen? Was there going to be a Batman fighting Joker scene? That part I'm really, really curious about, since Daniel RPK says there was a lot more stuff that was cut out of Batman. It would have been Spider-Man Homecoming level of interaction, which he played a pretty big role. I mean, one of the things that you remember from Civil War was Spider-Man, and to have hearing that he had as much role as Spider-Man had in Civil War, then Batman should have been part a little bit more in that movie as well. And so that part is also disheartening, too. But in any case, it is really, just an eye opener to see these more concept art. I know this is probably the original, not the original, but the theatrical version of that. That's the parademons were supposed to look a little more human, more like I guess you can say like this, more like that, I guess, than what we had in the movie. And there would have been some interesting concepts there. But we'll see. I mean, I really hope that we get a chance to see the David Ayer cut, because and maybe with the Snyder cut, that it will make it possible for the David Ayer to come out even more, and even tying in the parademons into the story as well, right? Because we'll have learned about the anti-life equation, we'll have learned about the parademons, and so we'll get to see a lot of that stuff within it, including having a little bit more Joker in there, and possibly even having a little bit more Batman in there as well. So it would have been a little bit more I guess consistent to Zack Snyder's Justice League. At the same time, a little bit more justice to Jared Leto's work as Joker, and we'll get to see a little bit more of Batfleck. That's an all great things. If you're a Batman fan, I wouldn't. I would think you would love to see that. Increased interaction and increased scenes involving your favorite characters, and I hope we get to see that one day. So please, Warner Brothers, like I've said before, release the Snyder cut, but hey, since you're on that route, release the Ayer cut as well. All right, guys. Well, that is enough. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.